It's lang, no? Ako, there's no problem with that. Ano? In fact, that's very practical and very economical considering that isasabay mo lang sa election next year at considering that if we will go by the yung PCOS machine, whatever, lalagay ka lang naman doon ng portion na yes or no. So, talaga yun. Wala talaga additional cost that you can say. Now, and besides, kami naman in the House, the time frame that we are trying to work on is that we will be able to finish this on third reading before the Lenten break. Alam niyo naman yun na-announce na yun. Now, of course, we will send, because under our rules, we are supposed to process this in the nature of a bill. Process this in the process. Hindi ito it's not a legislative bill. It's just being processed as a bill, meaning it has to go through first, second, third reading. In my sense, papadala to sa Senate. Now, I was asked yesterday, after that, what's going to happen? Then, my sense, ito lang, personal ko, if it is being processed as a bill, then like any other bill, had to wait for a Senate counterpart. And RBH 6, tinitake up na nila. Whether it's the Senate or not, will be able to approve their before the Lenten break. That's another story because ayaw naman namin pakialaman what will be the timeline of the Senate. We have to, for that to work, I'm just assuming, if both houses of Congress will be able to approve yung by the required votes provided for by the Constitution, then the submission of the approved resolution must be in the hands of the COMELEC, not later, para pumasok doon sa time frame ng May election next year, around November or December this year. Because ang sabi sa Constitution, once the COMELEC received the approved amendment, then it is mandated to schedule a plebiscite not earlier than 60 days nor later than 90 days. So yun, you can work on that. It may come, assuming for the sake of argument, that we are able, wishful thinking lang to, that we are able to approve this before the Lenten season. The matter of both of houses of Congress I'm referring to, the matter of submission for plebiscite to the COMELEC, i-adjust na lang to be within that period, because the moment we ibigay mo yan sa kanila beyond the 90 days limit nila o 60 days, then mapipilitan ng COMELEC as mandated by the Constitution to have a plebiscite earlier than the election next year. But if you're going to ask me, is it legal, possible, na maisabay to next year? Pwede, and economical at that. So long as magpo-fall dun sa the time frame provided for by the Constitution.
I'm going to go to my second question. Yesterday, si Congressman Colmenares, or former Congressman Colmenares, expressed concern kasi yung pag nilagay yung unless otherwise provided by law, he's warning na there will be too much power given to Congress and Congress will be buffeted, sabi nga niya, by lobby money pag nangyari yung ganon. How would you address that concern?
Si Neri, kaibigan ko yan, nakasama ko sa Kongreso yun matagal. We call each other brother. But with due respect to what he stated yesterday, sa akin ang tingin ko na dyan, pananakot lang yan. Pananakot that we will be exposed to, if you give the power to, legislative power to the Congress to change the proportion of ownership as provided for by the masasubject daw kami sa mga mga maglalabi. Sa akin, pananakot lang yan. The better question is, do we really need to amend the provision? Yun ang mas mahalagang tanong. Kailangan ba natin talagang palitan yung i-free ng konti yung mga economic provision by the Constitution? And there are two modes of doing it. Presently, there is only one mode of changing the provisions of the Constitution. And that is to amend the Constitution. Kita naman natin, ang hirap talaga mag-amend na attempts have been made for the past several decades, 3 decades at that, na either CONCON, o tumawag ang House, o CONCON, o Constituent Assembly. But for one reason or the other, it gets stuck in the Senate. Hindi talaga pumapalaot. Ako, my submission is because there's a distrust. Distrust that if you constitute a constitutional convention, then those who are going to be elected, mga tao rin ng mga politiko na baka mapalitan ng when you constitute a constitutional convention, na yan, it's a free walang limit yan. Can change anything, can be a total revision, not only an amendment, it can change the form of government, it can shift from bicameral to unicameral. Walang limit yan. Yun ang I think it's fear of one of baka yun ang fear, na baka mawala, maging regional sila or mawala dahil magiging parliamentary. The same manner, ganun din. Bakit ayaw din mag-convene as a jointly assembled? Because yun nga yung issue of voting jointly or separately. There's no way that the Senate will agree na to vote separately. Yung over lang namin yan parang sa basketball yan, naglaban ng NBA champion, pinalaban mo sa isang barangay na team dito, talagang tatambakan talaga yan, and the House is capable of overrunning the numbers of the senators, so much so, kung ipagsasamahin mo yung 24 nila saka yung sa amin, easily that 3/4 vote will be able to be achieved. So yun ayaw nila, because ang takot din naman nila, pagdating dito, gano'n na naman. Baka mapalitan na naman, maging unicameral, etc., etc. So, my submission is, if we will, marami na nagsasabi ng mga ng mga economists, mga ating mga economic leader sa Congress. Marami. In fact, for the first time, I've been a majority leader for 9 years, more than 9 years. This is my 8th term in Congress. Publicly, hindi nagsasabi ang mga senador, we are for the amendment of the economic provision. Never. Hindi nagsasalita yan, ngayon lang. Ngayon lang nagsasalita yan na we are. So, we are pala. They are in favor of the economic provision. The question is, how do we do that? Ayaw nga ng Ayaw nga ng CONCON. Ayaw nga ng CONAS. So, ito lang pamamaraan na to ang pwede talaga. Para ito, in this way, the House resolution, limited, makikita, and effectively we have mimicked and mirrored what is pending before the Senate. So there is an assurance that we are only taking up these three that are also pending in the Senate. At walang mga political rito. And then we are voting separately dahil we will vote on it and they will vote on it dahil kami nga, we are being treated as we treat this as a manner of processing a bill. The only difference kasi between the House and the Senate, meron kaming rule it's found in our rule how to amend the Constitution na sa Senate wala silang rule. In fact, balita ko, yung palang nang inumpisahan nila na magkaroon sila ng rule how to process their resolution. Pero ako naman, the mere fact that they have a committee on amendment headed now by Senator Robin, constitutional amendment, headed by Senator Robin Padilla, and the mere fact that they have reported out a committee report of the RBH 6 na tinitake up na nila is an indication that they know and realize that they have that constitutional power, or that constituent power. Hindi nga lang nila malaman paano nila ipaprocess. Hindi katulad kami, klarado kami kung paano namin ipinaprocess.
And maybe to add, yung praise po na unless otherwise provided by law, sa tingin ko, perfect po yun, praise, in fact. Dahil in the context of globalization, kailangan natin ng Congress ay mayroong leeway kahit papano, may legroom to make laws that are adaptable to changes, that are more competitive. Pag finix po natin ng proportion, dyan pa lang po, sa article, let's say Article 12, pagpalagay natin, gawin natin 51-49 in favor of foreign, paano pala kung ang prevailing po pala sa buong global economy, tumatakbong 60-40 in favor of foreign and direct investors. Matatalo tayo po sa competition. So pag unless otherwise provided by law, we're giving the Congress a more exhaustive, deliberative, detailed manner of creating a law that would be suited for global competition. Hindi lang po opening ng pinag-uusapan dito, yung opening ng ating economic provisions. The next objective is how are we going to be palatable in the eyes of investors. So itong unless otherwise provided by law, walang masama po dyan. Basta dumaan lang po to sa plebisito. Dadaan sa proseso. Katulad na sinasabi, Congresswoman Gonzalez, dadaan sa Senado, dadaan sa 3/4 votes of the Senate. Either voting separately or jointly, it doesn't matter. Basta nagkaisa ang Senado, committed na. Natutulungan nila through RB 86. Kami naman, committed na through RB 87. Tapos narinig na natin ating presidente na amendments na economic provisions. Narinig na rin po natin ang dating presidente PRRD na nagkasalita ng makarang araw na okay sa kanya ang charter change along na economic provisions. So having that premises, wala na kailangan buuin na natin to. It will be a monumental development pag nagawa po natin itong RBH, or itong resolution approved by both houses and approved by the majority of the electorate of the entire country.
Additionally, meron kasi nagsasuggest bakit hindi nyo na lang ilagay yung gusto nyong proportional share? Kasi kung gusto nyong gawing from 60-40, pwedeng 51-49, etc., etc. Bakit kailangan unless otherwise authorized by law? Kasi the moment we do that, if later on, sabihin na naman natin, uy, hindi pala pwede yung 51-49, di ba? So, kailangan palang palitan na naman natin. Because, ang law should be, hindi pwede static yan. It's not constant Kailangan yan, nag-a-apply yan sa present conditions, sa present needs of the country. Kung halimbawa, sige, sabihin natin, after 10 years naman, hindi pala pwede kasi ayaw pa rin pumasok, gusto nila at least 60 sila. So, pagpapalitan naman natin yan, unless lalagyan natin yan, unless otherwise provided for law, we will have to go to the same procedure of amending the Constitution. Kaya nga natin ginagawang unless otherwise provided for by law, is from making it the procedure from a tedious process of amending the Constitution, ginagawa na lang natin sa pamamagitan ng both houses of Congress na magpapasa ng batas. Kaya yung sinasabing marami maglalabi diyan. Sa akin pananakot lang yan ang better question, as I've said, talaga ba kailangan natin to? Kung kailangan natin to, di gawin natin.
Are there any other comments from Kong Chino and Kong Ray?
Actually, Kong Peter said it. My sentiments regarding this one. The sentence otherwise provided by law provides us, the Filipino people, a little bit of leeway in order to further maximize the investments that are coming into our country. It doesn't necessarily mean that, it's one way to think about that as, pananakot nga, as what Kong Natalie said. But at the same time, we can also look at the other side of the coin to see that if there are any other foreign direct investors that require specific, let's say if they provide specific services, products that we are also in dire need of to further improve the status, the conditions of our country, the learning, and everything in between. We can rely on the otherwise provided by law to further enhance, to further tailor fit the needs of the country. So, yeah, that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, to echo what my distinguished colleagues have said, it boils down to two things yung provision na linagay doon. It's flexibility and adaptability. By having flexibility and adaptability, you already set yung framework ng bansa, the Congress that comes after us, to be able to adapt and to adjust depending on the needs of the times. And we could not waste this opportunity. Sayang naman yung pagkakataon na tayo na mismo nakakakita nito. And ito, maybe I could put a personal anecdote. About last week, we defended a bill on lowering the stock transaction tax dito. Bakit natin kailangan bawasan yung stock transaction tax? Back then, based on the data, we have the highest stock transaction tax in Southeast Asia, and because of that, sa ASEAN 6, we are the second to the smallest stock market exchange, despite being the oldest stock market exchange in ASEAN. Because of how the laws are so antiquated at ang tagal din naman ng proseso ng paggawa ng batas, it's so difficult for us, nahihirapan tayo na mag-adapt immediately. Ang ginawa ko ni Vietnam, sige, let's make it competitive yung stock transaction tax natin, ipares natin sa buong ASEAN. Gawin natin 0.1%. Singapore na 0% stock transaction tax. And because of that, we have looked at it historically na pag binawasan mo or you tried to bawasan yung friction cost or gaanan yung friction cost for capital to come in, that was actually the indicator for global markets to say, mas madali palang ilagay yung investment namin dito kasi wala masyadong mga nakaharang. So we had to adapt immediately, and that's why we pushed for it. We're asking the president, the speaker actually is in full support of such kinds of philosophy with regards to capital markets natin, na i-push natin yan para maging competitive din tayo. So we put it in that same light dito sa economic provisions, na gawin na natin yung overarching framework so that we are flexible and adaptable in the future.
Thank you. From GMA DCBB, you're recognized, Isa Bendaño Omali.
Good morning po. To Congressman Gonzalez, kayo po bilang chairman ng Special Committee on the West Philippine Sea, kaninang umaga po kasi na-interview si President Marcos Jr. before ang biyahe niya sa Australia, and he described worrisome yung pong recent developments sa West Philippine Sea, including po yung presence ng Chinese Navy at saka po yung interference ng sa electronic communication capabilities sa West Philippine Sea. Yung po bang committee niyo may plan to investigate this? And any reaction na rin po. Thank you.
Meron naman kaming plano, no? Kaya lang, hindi naman tuwing magkakaroon. Kasi, for the past month or so, almost every week, merong incursion. Whether yung ating mga fishermen are being prevented, ito na naman, meron naman ng mga warship. But, nag-hearing kami, but you have to realize also, very limited din ang ang limited din ang nagiging result of our of our hearing. We can receive briefing. We cannot ako as chairman of the West Special Committee of West Philippine Sea, I don't believe that we can even conduct an investigation in aid of legislation kasi paano kung who are you going to to subpoena, to testify from the other side? Di naman mapupunta yan dito. We are in close contact with the task force, at palagi naman ang nasasabi sa amin, in the meantime, nagkakaroon naman ng diplomatic protest, because while baka some might view wala naman nangyayari sa diplomatic protest na yan, because in fact by this time siguro we have already made baka ang dami ng diplomatic protest, and wala pa rin talaga action, but in the meantime, that's what we can do. Hindi naman tayo pwede magpadala rin ng warship natin doon, etc. Dahil kasi at least why would itong DFA continuously make diplomatic protests, even if viewed by some na wala naman nangyayari, because we have to show to the world that we are not relinquishing our claim. Kasi for us to be silent na, halimbawa, may ginawang ganito, wala na, hindi na natin pinapansin, yung ating mga countries who are supportive of our cause will also lose interest if we ourselves are not showing any interest. Then sino pa sila? So basically, kaya rin hindi kami masyado although we are in close contact with the task force of West Philippine Sea, because every time kami maghihiring ng ganyan, ganun palagi ang palaging ganun ang magiging resulta. Kahit na may mag-advocate dyan na sabi, padala tayo ng mga military ship para talaga gusto na makipaggera. Things na our country is also trying to avoid.
I may add to that, because he is my chairman in the West Philippine Sea. Magkasama po kami. And I guess Kong Gonzalez is actually too modest also to say that we have exhaustively deliberated on this measure. And iisa din naman, one of the things that we have discussed there, and it is conclusive, is that for us to have a sustainable presence to assert our rights in the West Philippine Sea, and it's always coming in our deliberation, and Kong Gonzalez has acknowledged it and has made the comments then. One of the things that we have also put forward is that we more than that, asserting our claims, we have our diplomatic protests in the scenario of the world where countries, actually the best way of communicating dyan is really an assertion of strength. For us, it's actually to build our minimum deterrence capability. Having a minimum deterrence capability in places of interest of the Philippines could assure us of asserting our sovereignty. Fortunately, and not a lot of people know this, and the President and the Speaker was also pleasantly surprised, is that we actually in the Philippines have local capability to create or to produce the needed capability. I know it's so easy when you look at it in the press, palaging tinitignan natin, it is always a show of size and strength. But given our archipelagic nature here, what is actually needed, numbers, agility, and adaptability to the changing scenarios there. And that is something that our local manufacturers are able to do now that the President and actually the Speaker was made aware of these, and they're pleasantly surprised that we actually have that kind of capability to help in our West Philippine Sea advocacy. That's why my discussion already on, I think we had this Horizon 3 with the AFP. Now they want to do a re-horizon because they need to reassess kung paano ang ating plan of approach dito sa West Philippine Sea. Now using also sustainably and locally produced militarily capable crafts. So that's it for that's what I could add sa namin ni Kong Gonzalez. Thank you.
No more other reactions from our other guests.
Just pray po na magkaroon talaga ng diplomatic talks. Siguro yun ang with these incursions, to me it's bullying. Kailangan siguro panahon na ng diplomasya. Diplomasya, pag-uusapan siguro with the Chinese government.
Short addition. So I was watching also the news regarding that one, and I think it was also mentioned, if I remember correctly, it was mentioned by the Coast Guard that even though there are signal jamming attempts, they are still yet to verify from where these attempts have come from. But at the same time, they've also signified that it does not pose a great hindrance to the current operations, the maritime operations as well. So I think it is reassuring that our Coast Guard and all of the maritime activity that we have there are still continuing despite these crippling technological attempts. At the same time, as what Kong Peter said, prayer that this gets resolved, and also the consistent efforts of all of the branches of government and also our armed forces and our men in uniform are needed for this to be resolved as peacefully as possible.
Thank you, sir. Red Mendoza of Manila Times.
Hi po, good morning